So welcome back. So now let's talk about date calculations. Date calculations are very powerful tools, especially in Tableau, because that gives you a lot of flexibility. So for example, let's add a new column which is a calculated field. Let's say I'm asked how many days on average is it taking to ship. So let's say I have a new column that I'm adding, which is called ship dates. So what this is I basically have two dates in my data. One is the order date and one is the ship date. So let me say I have the ship date. Ship date minus order date is whatever is the number of days I'm getting. So as you can see, there are a lot of functions and some of them are called date type. So you can basically see all of these functions right there. So you can see date add, which means you can add certain dates, certain days to a date, and date diff, date name. So basically, as I said earlier, you can just click on that and say, hey, what is date name mean? So you just pass in the date and it gives you April or month, something like that. Okay, for now let's go back and say what is a ship date. I click apply. So I have a new column which is called ship dates. So ship dates, let me add it there. So it looks like it took 39,565 because it's a summation. Just to make sure, let's say view data and see where ship days. Let's see what is the new data that we added. So let's go back to the end. Unique order, where is show. So in this case, let's try to get this data next. So you can drag, hold it down and move it to wherever you want. Where is our order date? Hey, come on. So customer ID. So we have the order date right there. And let's try to see if I can get the ship date somewhere. Where is my ship date? This is interesting. I have already right there. So let's drag the ship date right next to here. Okay, so now if you see, this order was placed on 11/9, but it took 3 days, so it was 11/2. So basically you can add lot of look, this is interesting. The order was placed 9/11, but it was shipped 9/14, so 5. So yeah, it looks like we added up. So let's now take up and let's say, rather than sum, let's do an average, right? So average, we are taking about 3.95 days for us to ship, which is really interesting. So now let's see from a graphical perspective, let's add say state and let's add a field map. The reason why I'm adding a field map is because the average ship days is going to affect my number of days, right? So I'm going to say ship days and I'm going to ask it to label. So if I see right now I'm doing the ship days as sum, so I'm going to change it to average. So if you let's say I moved it to ship days as average and let me make it as edit colors, let's say red green diverging or orange blue white diverging, whatever, and let's say apply this. So if you look at it, so right now we can easily tell you that it is taking Montana and Wyoming. These are the two big ones where it is taking lot of days to ship. And now if you add, let's say ship priority or anything like that, ship mode for example right here. So let's say we add ship mode right there. So if you add ship mode, what is basically happening is it is basically telling you what is happening on the ship mode. So let's remove ship mode and let's add it to right. Let's try to break it up. So in first class versus, or let's go to the data view first and then come back. So we have, and let's remove my state. So there are 4 different types at which we are doing our shipping, right? So the first class we have, let's also look at the unique records so that we know how many records we are having. So okay, so we have 2 first class orders and sorry, we have 1500 first class orders. We are doing average ship days is 2, which is pretty good. Second same day is 543, but the big one we are missing is we have an average of 5 days on 5000 of our orders, which is really bad. So we would definitely want to view this at a standard class level. So we will add this to the filter. So let's add it. Let's move the, what is that, ship mode to my filter. And I'm just looking at standard one right now. So I just none, and then stay. I just want to understand why the standard is taking so long. And then I'm going to add my state, and then I'm going to look at my graphical presentation, and I'm going to change it to field map. So if you can see right now, what I'm trying to do is sum of number of records. This I'm not really interested in some. I'm not really, but let's look at what it is basically giving it. So we have about 602 orders right here, and I'm more interested in the color convention for average ship days. So I'm going to change it to color right there. So when I'm having ship mode as this, I am on an average, the minimum I'm having is 4 and the maximum I'm having is 6. So let me add the average ship days to the label, or let me add the ship days to the label right there. And rather than the sum, I'm going to say give me the average. So if you see, just by looking at this, we know where that across, it's not like a problem that is at one place, rather it is a problem right across everywhere. So this is one real good thing that we might want to consider on changing our carrier or something, because we are taking about 5 days for our users to get their orders. So this is just one example of the date function. So now let's see, go back and see what other values, right? Let's say create calculated field, and let's drop down and see date, and quickly let's look at what it is. Like each date is basically where you can pass in a date and look at the values in there. Then you can get a day out of a given date. So these are different, more drilled down versions of dates and how you can use it, like we did earlier, where we had the number of where we calculated the summation. We can even right now get, like for example, year of whatever date we have. So let's say I get in my order date there. So we can basically say, hey, apply, and you can call it as a order year, and then you can basically look at some of the other data. So let's say I get order year, where is my order year? So you can basically get that value. So because we are doing a summation right there, we don't want a summation, but we want discrete values of that. So but order year, if you look at it, we basically it summed the order year where it was at, but I don't want the summation of the order year. I wanted discrete values of the order year. And if it is basically kind of summing up the entire order year. So you can basically play with the data around much more in detail, and you can basically then drag your let's say order ID or something right there, and it gives you the same error. So let's say the category by category. So what is this order here is, let's go and make sure we are having the right one. Click edit, or you can right click there, and let's see the data for order here, right? We can view the data. Hey, okay, keep only, okay, I don't want header. Okay, now let's go and view where is the order here, right there. Let's add the order here and view data right there. So let's see what the order here is. So it should be basically 2016. Wherever is my, so if you see, it is 2011 in this case. So what it is happening is, it's basically having it's basically summing up your entire order here, but you definitely do not want to have that. So let's remove that out there, and basically you can add new columns, and you can number of records, you can basically add more and more values. So you can convert this to a dimension, convert to dimension. Basically what happens now is your order date should be here. It's a calculated field. Now when you drag it right there, now you have 2011, 12, 13 and basically 14. So this is how you can do the order here. Say you can basically do a new date calculation and then convert it into a dimension and then use it for reporting. So this is exactly the same thing order date does when you just pull up the year.